Hi, Floxie friends. Most of you know me. My name is Lisa Bloomquist, and I've got Jason Sousa here. I get super awkward on videos, so I apologize about that. But kind of as I'm departing, I'm doing my first video interview, and the interview is with my successor, Jason, who's going to be taking over Floxiehope. I think that many of you are aware of that, and wanted to introduce him and get his story and talk to him about why he wants to take over Floxiehope and all of those things. So thanks so much for joining, Jason, and want to give a little bit of an elevator speech of who you are.
Yeah, first I'd like to just thank you for taking the time to just facilitate this conversation with me and this transition between yourself and myself and Floxiehope, and then also all the viewers and the listeners taking the time just to spend this this moment with us both and just try to really hear my story and the reason why you're transitioning Floxiehope to me. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to take the reins, so to speak.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for you to take the reins. I've seen you do a lot of advocacy work. I've seen that the Facebook group that you started that has now what, about 1,300 members,
Yeah.
and really that it's focused on recovery and it's focused on healing. And you know, I've seen you do things that have kind of been on my to-do list for a while. And I'm like, oh, well, Jason's actually doing a lot of those things, and I really appreciate that. So, I wanted to hand over Floxiehope to someone who had been floxed. So, and I know that you want to, share your story maybe in bits and pieces, or that people will get to know you and get to know your story. But can
Yeah,
you
of
give
course.
a little bit of a Reader's Digest version of your fluoroquinolone toxicity journey?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I go back to December 2013, January 2014. So it's been a long time. I've learned a lot, and I always like to cling to this mantra of mine. I've grown through. So you grow through what you go through, and 7 years of going through this, I've definitely grown a lot. And a doctor had given me antibiotic after antibiotic, like so many have been through. And he was, I don't blame him, but he could have done the work, but this situation that I'm going through, I'm actually definitely okay with it. And that was always my mindset of how can I turn this negative experience that I could let become a negative experience or a negative chapter or a negative force in my story. How can I make it positive? And I've always kind of marched to that beat. And the last 7 years, I've tried everything. Like I've gone down every path, and I've looked down every book I could find, read every page of every book, of every study. I spent a lot of money. Be a lot different if I didn't have to spend all the money that I've spent. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I've exhausted every avenue, to say the least. But I've learned a lot, and that's the most valuable thing. And even more valuable is the connections and relationships that I've had through this event, this chapter in my life. And that's the most important thing, is the connections and friendships, and just the conversations. I have these conversations, these meaningful conversations with people that have meant so much to me, and made me more human and more emotionally connected to my fellow man and woman. And it's been such an enlightening moment for me, being in my mid-30s and going through this in my late 20s to early 30s, that I would never have thought I would gain all of these like life tools and life skills, so early on in life. These are a lot of things that people learn later on in life, as they build relationships and go through hardships with family members dying, and all these hard things that people deal with. I've had to deal with this at a younger age, so it's made me more humble, and that's one of the greatest gifts I could really ever ask for. And going through
That's
this has been hard, but it's been easy too.
Yeah, it's really crazy, like that something as awful as fluoroquinolone toxicity, and like it really is. It's awful. It's horrifying. Like, wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But like, there's some good that can come of it. Like, there was a lot of good that came of it for me personally. And like, I'm not saying it was worth it. I'm not saying like, go out and get floxed so you can join this community. Like, of course I'm not saying that. Like, that's just like a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
But still, like, I've formed relationships and I've developed a community,
Yeah.
and joined a community of people who have also been through this. And
Yeah.
I'm really, I'm sad to be leaving the community. I am. I'm really sad. Like, this is a really kind of bittersweet transition.
Mhm.
People have been so kind though, and they've said that the fact that I'm leaving, that I'm handing over Floxiehope, is it's hopeful to them, because it shows
Yeah.
that I'm just like leaving this chapter of my life behind me.
Yeah.
And they're right. you know uh um oh my goodness, I'm getting like kind of teary.
Yeah. You've
Like
given
there are
so
all
much.
these like kind of bizarre life lessons that like you
Yeah.
don't expect to learn, and that like you only learn um through some hardship.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those life lessons that I learned is that you know you need to bring some passion to the activism.
Yeah.
And I had that passion for so many years, and like you could see it in the things that I wrote. But if you look
Or
back on about the last year's worth of stuff that I wrote, you could see that I've lost that passion. And
mhm.
just being able to hand it over to you, Jason, hand over Floxiehope to you, so that you can start imparting the lessons that you learned. um, I'm really I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with the site. I think it'll be great. And I think it's exciting. Change is hard. It's going to be hard for me to let go. But I think that you'll do a really excellent job at helping people through this. Like, your process and your journey is different from mine.
Mhm.
Like, we both had tons of supplements.
Yeah.
We both had some time on our side. Um, both kind of figured out the attitude ups and downs, but your journey had more medical intervention than I did,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And you did things like IV treatments and whatnot, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've done everything from laying on magnets to ozone therapy to hyperbaric chambers. And like IV therapy, stem cells, exosomes. I don't know if there's a medical treatment I haven't tried. I mean, besides, getting stung by killer bees or something to try to heal my immune system. I've done it all. And in hindsight, it is in reality, it was really just getting the right information and the right treatment at the right time. That was the most important thing. And if I would have had that sooner, or at least somebody to guide me early on, I feel like I would have gotten better faster. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people as much information and as much help as I can possibly give, so that they don't have to spend 7 years like I'm currently going through this. And that's my mission, is just to help, is just to give people that guidance.
Yeah. When I first got Floxed, and you got Floxed just a couple years after me, like, we've both been going through this for a long time. And
Yeah.
I remember there just wasn't very much information for a long time. And there weren't very many people who were offering to help. Um, and it was just kind of like a, hey, good luck, free for all, like, hope you find some information and I hope it helps. And it's really nice that there are people now who are guiding people through this process. And
Yeah.
that was certainly what I was trying trying to do.
Mhm.
I was just trying to give people hope.
Yeah.
I was kind of a reluctant guide in a lot of ways. I'm like, I don't know, like, here's what helped me, but I think that a lot more information has been gathered, and frankly, like, your willingness to be a bit of a guinea pig and to share your lessons with others that
Yeah.
after you've gone through so much. I think it'll really help. And now there are these resources, people like you, people like all the people who have shared their stories on Floxiehope.
Yeah.
There's information out there that wasn't out there in 2011 or 2012 or 2013. Like
Mhm.
when you and I first started this journey. So um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
I'm
been,
I'm 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 looking forward to all of the lessons that you're going to be sharing with people and helping people through.
I tell everyone that reaches out to me, uh, the first thing I say is, I'm so sorry to hear that you're going through what you're going through, but you have to really listen to this speech. And it's a good time to be a Floxy because you have so much information. You have doctors working on it. You have all, like, geneticists, like, you have all these people that are working towards figuring this out. And it's pretty much been figured out. Um, and I know it's hard for people to hear that they feel like let down by the medical society, and they feel like all of their, you know, rights have been violated. Like, they just don't know why it's happened to them. Their right to be a healthy human being has been taken away from them because of a prescription. And I get that. Like, a $30 prescription shouldn't cost you like everything you have. Like, my $35 prescription shouldn't have made me like pull our wedding fund so that I could pay for all these treatments and have to like wait a year to get married and put my wife through that. And, like, no one should have to go through that. And like, my mission's always been to just really give people as much information, as much help, so they can get better quicker, so they're not having to, like, spend all of their kids' college funds and take time away from their family because they can't get out of bed for 3, 6, 9 months, isolate themselves and be depressed. Like, all that stuff shouldn't happen. The least amount of time we can spend doing that, and the more time we can spend getting better and giving information and sharing and supporting one another, I think is, it's invaluable. It's priceless.
Awesome. Awesome. Like, that's really um, fabulous that you are just imparting the knowledge that you have, giving it to other people. So very cool. So in talking about the doctors, I do want to address some things that some concerns that people have
Sure.
brought up, and clear the air and let you talk about well, what your relationship is with Dr. 𝘾𝙉𝙉𝙉. But kind of first off, like, Dr. 𝘾𝙉𝙉𝙉 treated you, right? Like, he was a big part of your journey.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a huge part of my journey. A little bit about my backstory about medical treatments. So my first big medical treatment was a stem cell procedure in Mexico at GeoStar, like 6 years ago or 5 years ago. Like, some hip issues helped me a little bit. And then I came back to Boston, and I went back to Oregon to see Payson Flattery. He's a doctor in Oregon, had exosomes, finally fixed my hip and my knees. Flew back home, got worse again, relapsed. And this clinic in Mexico called STEMaid was fixing, the quote, fixing people that were, damaged by fluoroquinolones. I bought the brochure, the title, "We healed 100%." Like, okay, talked to 3 people that I find out later were kind of like not really healed, and they were just giving anecdotal reviews that were flawed. Flew down there, got worse, put me in a wheelchair, came home. That's when I hit rock bottom. All we had left was our wedding fund, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go call Dr. 𝘾𝙉𝙉𝙉. I looked at the reviews. I reached out to patients, a lot of patients, and I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna do it. Flew to Los Angeles. Emily had pushed me in a wheelchair, all of our bags, like, indebted to that woman for life. And she helped me. I get there, you know, for some reason my mind got on board. I just knew that this this was going to help me. I was just ready to heal, ready to change. First meeting with him, sit in his office, 3 hours go by. We're talking about my situation, watching his videos with his mother, filming him crawling upstairs, watching my videos of me doing the same thing. We spent that time like just really looking at, like, we had the same story. And I felt that, and I was like, this guy went through what I'm going through, and it meant so much to me. And we all kind of cried because I was crying because I was like, so like had so much endearment for the fact that he shared this. And I went through the process, went through the program, gave me all these supplements, went home. I'm like, oh my God, I was overwhelmed. Like, I just went through this procedure. I started getting out of the wheelchair, had all these supplements. I was like, oh my God, I was so lost. And then I started to heal. I started to feel better. And I started to just really, like, the Facebook group was my journey going through that. That was the principal mission, was like, hey, let me start my own group. Let me show everybody like this process, what I'm going through. And I started to get better. And then other people started to go there and they started to get better. And then other people started following the group and sharing their support around it. And I definitely owe Dr. 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙉𝙀𝘾𝙏 a lot. I told him when I was in that office with Emily that my goal was to walk down the aisle to Emily at our wedding. And I was in a wheelchair. She was behind me. And he helped me make that happen. So hopefully that doesn't land on deaf ears. Like that's huge. Like, if you have something that you want to get to in life and you're coming from a wheelchair and you want to get to that, and you'll do whatever it takes, and you have somebody that can help you, obviously it costs me money to go through the procedure. I don't expect him to, do what he does. Insurance didn't pay for it. I went for it. We used our wedding fund and it happened. And I walked to Emily down the aisle, and I owe everything to that guy. Like, he's awesome. And since then, like, I've been able to like reach out to him and other doctors. I've been collaborating with other doctors at BAHA, which is like this alliance that basically has all these doctors that are working on this together, and we're coordinating and giving each other advice and helping practitioners try to figure out how to heal this faster. And that's always been my mission, is to just help people. And yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
And so, I've tended to recommend things that have helped me. And
Yeah.
It's just kind of the natural thing to do. And so and you recommend, like, you tell people your journey, and that Dr. 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙉𝙀𝘾 helped you, got you to the point, got you from a wheelchair to where you are now, which is
Yeah.
certainly not in a wheelchair. And and I think that, of course you're going to speak highly of him, but just kind of to clear the air, is there any sort of like financial relationship between you two, other than the fact that you paid a whole lot of money to get the treatment?
No. Yeah. People, it's hard for me to really read messages from people that, try to like tear me down a little bit. I'm not going to blame anybody like for whatever motives they had to reach out and, send me a message that they didn't really think would hurt my feelings, but it did. But no, there's never been. And, people reach out to me all the time and they say, should I go to this doctor or should I do this? And I'm like, listen, it's a huge financial decision, and you need to be emotionally okay with whatever that decision is and whatever doctor is doing that procedure. I've always told people, like, you have to have a gut feeling with whoever's treating you. My most famous Facebook messages, should I go see Hanson or Dr. 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙉𝙀𝘾? Like, I could just scroll through, and it's, it's great that people, really appreciate or respect my conversations around that. But I've always said to anyone, like, you need to decide if it's okay. But, I've never had a financial connection to Dr. 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙉𝙀𝘾. It's always just been my personal, like, my feelings around like the treatment. And I've documented my process at 𝘾𝑚 on the other groups, and I've been very open with what I've been doing. I've just started to video and do more because I knew that there was a void in like documenting stories, and video is such an emotional connection for people because they feel like they know you because you're face to face. You're, you know, everyone loves YouTube videos nowadays. So I documented everything in my journey, and I was hoping that it would help, but somewhere along the line, you know, it got misconstrued, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for clearing that up. And, you know, so um, you are a health coach, though,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Right. And so you're offering some health coaching services. I don't want you to go into it necessarily right now, but you know, also just want to be open and clear about that, you know, you are you've gone through some coursework on health coaching, and you are offering some health coaching services, and those services, you know, you expect people to pay you for your time. Like, this isn't that's you know, kind of high level summary. Do you want to go into like some details
No,
about things?
yeah, totally fine. So the reason why I became a health coach was because I noticed that there was a huge demand for some sort of like guidance or roadmap, because there's so many Facebook posts of, should I take vitamin C? Should I take MitoQ or CoQ10? Should I do this? My chiropractor wants me to do this. Should I get physical therapy? There's always the, how should I handle this posts? And there's a lot of gray area and a lot of misinformation. And over 7 years of me scrolling through Facebook, I've noticed a lot of that. And now that we have doctors working on it and treating people, that's great, because you have a treatment protocol that you can do that will obviously get you better, because these doctors are devoting all their practice, if not a portion of their practice, and collaborating with other doctors to help people, like in a way that they can give you some sort of treatment protocol to get you better. That's awesome. Here's the only problem with treatment protocols and this issue is because it affects your life, you know, before, during, and sometimes after. So if you get a treatment, some people do really well and don't need any guidance. But if you get a treatment and you have to change your diet, you have to change your lifestyle, you don't know how to manage stress well, you've really never taken supplements your entire life, and the doctor gives you like 10 to 20 supplements that you don't know what they do, when to take them, how to take them. That's where I came in, and that's kind of where I wanted to help people. I wanted to give them a roadmap, and I wanted to be their support system and their change agent, to be like, hey, stress is bad for the mitochondria. There's tons of studies on it. Let's figure out how to manage stress. Or these supplements need to be taken because of this fact, and they do this. And just understanding so people can grasp why they're investing their time, money, effort into doing a treatment or trying to change their health. Like, that's where I wanted to help. And there was really a big need for that, I noticed. And I've been through this, and I don't want people to spend a bunch of money on supplements, and I don't want people to waste time going Facebook group to Facebook group asking, should I take this or should I do this? Fluoroquinolone poisoning, you know, toxicity, whatever you want to call it, is fairly simple if you know what to look for, and you know your personal genetics, and you change a few things, you can really get better really quick. So that's
That's
kind of,
awesome. And I mean, I'm really glad that you're making yourself available to help people through this. You know, I yeah, I think that's great. It's, you know, helping people through this and guiding people through this, like, has been, you know, something that was really like my mission and my passion for a long time. But like, I never kind of took that additional step of of being very methodical about it, because I'm just not a methodical person. Just not. And I appreciate, though, that you are the type of person who, you know, like, really evaluated, okay, well, this worked, and this is why, and this didn't work, and that's and this is why. And that you know, are going to help people through that. So
yeah.
So very cool. So you mentioned, to kind of switch topics a little bit, but you mentioned BAHA. What is BAHA? Can you just say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so imagine a bunch of doctors, really smart doctors, and a few patients that have been through the ringer like myself. If you could collaborate with doctors and give them what you've gone through and your experience so that they can understand how to better serve the patient population. So instead of guessing, you could just have some patients and what they've been through, and then we could all collaborate and decide what is a good treatment protocol, like what's the best outcome, how can we diagnose this faster, how can we look for symptoms, how can we tell other doctors how to look for symptoms. My mission's always been to help people, and if I can find doctors that are willing to help people and I can find doctors willing to help one another, that's like a win all the way around. And I have no financial incentive to any of these doctors. I'm just trying to facilitate some sort of dialogue and give them my advice, which is unbelievable that these doctors even respect my opinion or my advice, so that they can help people get better quicker. That's really
So,
the goal.
so just like the gist of it, like it's a group. It's like a doctors group, a doctors
Mhm.
and patients group that are focusing on fluoroquinolone toxicity.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Very, very nice. And kind of cycling back a little bit, I just want to assure people that that the things that are on Floxiehope now, the website is going to remain free. There's not going to be any sort of paywalls or anything along those lines. And the podcast will still be out there. All this information will still be out there. And now, just kind of in addition to that, you'll have people who, like Jason, who can coach you through a lot of this information, because
A lot.
kind of like we were saying, there wasn't very much information when we first started. There weren't very many. There certainly weren't doctors who were experts in this, and there were just a handful of patients and advocates that were.
Yeah.
But now there's almost like too much information. So
Too
it's good.
too
It's
much.
good to have someone, just hold your hand and kind of guide you through the information.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Jason is doing and is going to continue to do, and continue to reach people through Floxiehope. So, I think we've been talking for a little while. I don't want to make this too long. I think that people, you'll share all sorts of information, and people will get to know you as
Yeah.
you're managing, owning, administering everything, Floxiehope, as you're putting information out there. And it takes a while to get to know someone. Not going to try and squeeze it all into this interview, but is there anything else that you want to say for right now?
Yeah, like I wanted to address like my main mission for Floxiehope 2.0. I really
Yeah.
wanted to make more of the same, and then bring in some other stuff like video and more podcasts. So it would still be recovery stories. It'll still be connecting people and creating a place of hope and support through hopeful stories. And then I really wanted to extrapolate more on the podcast side. So bring more doctors in, bring more geneticists, bring more people working on it, bring people on the podcast that are going through recovery, haven't quite recovered, but what are they doing? How are they doing? What have they found useful? So that other people can, it's relatable, right? People that are all going through this. And then the video part of it. So just adding some of my personal videos on things that are helping, or what to look for, what to ask your doctor for, what things help, that's really, really what I wanted to do, is just add more value for people to have this hub to go to and have all this information.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to all of that. Like that sounds amazing. That sounds awesome. I yeah, looking forward to seeing it, and listening to the podcasts as you're putting out more podcasts and videos and
Yeah.
all of those good things. And for people who are listening, if you have a recovery story that you'd like to share, I think that Jason will give more options for sharing your recovery story. If you feel more comfortable doing a video interview for sharing your story, if you feel more comfortable sharing your story on the podcast, if you want to write it up, I'm sure that he'll still accept people writing up stories as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do with Floxiehope 2.0. And like I was saying earlier, it's a bit bittersweet. I'm going to miss the community. I'm going to miss the people and the work even. It's advocacy work is really rewarding work. And I'm really happy that that you are going to get the reward that comes with doing this work, Jason. So yeah.
Just
So
love
thank you for taking the reins and
Well,
continuing
thank you
the
for,
torch of it. Like I certainly didn't want it to just die because I got lazy. So
yeah, I was so flattered when you had reached out and wanted me to start collaborating, and then have me take the reins, so to speak. I was like, wow. It's like, whoa, that's big shoes to fill, but we're gonna try.
well, thank you. Yeah, like I said, I recognized that, you were sharing your journey, and that you were, offering to share, that you were sharing your journey and sharing your knowledge and offering to help people and forming community. The about 1,300 members in the in the group in the Facebook group that you started.
Yeah,
That
it's cool.
just being able to form that community is huge.
Yeah,
So
I've been just trying to give a place of hope and positivity and good information and support, and yeah, that's was always my goal. And this thing that we all share can be a very dark place, and I wanted to give people some light in all of that. And
hope.
I definitely could have chose a different path and moved on, but I feel so connected and almost indebted to almost every Floxie to help them and be there for them and be a support system and have a place where they can come and see other people and meet other people that are going through what they're going through.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I'm going to stop our recording. Thank
Sure.
you all for watching.
Bye, everybody.